Since we're talking about WWE, let's get into Extreme Rules, the premium live event from this past weekend. We'll start off first with the major story, I think, out of the event, the return of Bray Wyatt. And we kind of laughed about it a little bit earlier that it was just hilarious to see people getting so into the QR codes and the hints. And from day one, we knew it was White Rabbit and that it was Bray Wyatt. Like, you know what I mean? There was no mystery. The only intrigue was, when is he going to come back? And the intrigue, I'll give WWE all the credit in the world on the intrigue. They popped a lot of ratings with the idea that, hey, Bray Wyatt might be appearing on this show. He might be appearing on this show. He might be on this show. He might be on this show. Eventually, then, people just figured out, okay, he's going to appear on Extreme Rules. And you saw the ratings reflect that when people realized, okay, he's not showing up at SmackDown and he's not showing up on Raw, he's showing up on Extreme Rules, you saw the numbers kind of go back to what they normally were because people were tuning in to see the return of Bray Wyatt. And then when they knew that it was going to happen at Extreme Rules, they went away for a little bit on SmackDown or whatever and Raw, and then they got back in. And we saw it this week on Monday Night Raw. The rating was very good because people, again, were hoping to see Bray Wyatt. Now, WWE did not give them Bray Wyatt. They gave them a video of Bray Wyatt from the night prior, which is a little, or 2 nights prior or whatever, which is a little, I don't know.
To be fair, they never said he was going to be on Raw.
They did.
They did strongly hint at the 9:37 thing on SmackDown. To me, that was a bait and switch because then nothing happened. He didn't appear. And you're right. Bray has now popped 2 ratings without even appearing. The one SmackDown rating for that big quarter hour, which elevated the whole show. And then this week's Raw, where people were hoping to see him coming off the pay-per-view. They announced him for SmackDown, and I expect tomorrow SmackDown to do a big number as well. I followed Bray Wyatt while he was with the company, and he never really was a ratings mover. There was a short period of time where he was, and then because whether you want to blame the booking or his performances or the over-the-topness of the gimmick, he ceased being a draw. He really did. These are like the 2 best numbers Bray Wyatt has ever pulled. And
yeah, it's pretty remarkable because when he was a regular performer, like he wasn't drawing business this way. He wasn't.
No, he was not.
He was not moving ratings this way.
People talk about the merch sales and all that, and that's fine. And at the time, even I remember on this show, I was saying people talk about merch sales. I almost feel like that's just shit people say when they're backed into a corner and don't have anything else to point to, right? They'll say, oh, well, he sells a lot of merch. Well, I don't remember whether this was to the Voices of Wrestling Twitter account or to my personal account, so I don't know. But I did have someone through an intermediary, a person that works in the WWE office, okay, who listens to this show, heard that segment.
I think it was through the official account. I remember this
So you remember, okay.
Yeah.
And then through an intermediary, who we won't name that person because it'll out that they have this source, told us, no, it's true. Bray sells a shit ton of merch.
Yeah.
And for a while, so, okay, fine. So he sold T-shirts, he sold merch, but he really was never a ratings mover. He's a ratings mover now. They fire the guy. He's been gone for a year. And that may have been the best thing that ever happened to him in terms of reigniting his star power because he did pop the SmackDown. He did pop the Raw. But like you said, when he didn't show up on the SmackDown, the following Raw was the shits. That was the first one against Monday Night Football, the first or second one against Monday Night Football, which really tanked. And to a larger degree than it should have versus the football. And to a larger degree than it did the year before under Vince. And then the following SmackDown went right back to normal numbers. Because people were like, all right, well, we know he's going to be in Extreme Rules now, right? So I think the SmackDown will do a good number Friday because they did announce him for the show. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, this has kind of reignited. There's no question that the core WWE fan base is super excited for the return of Bray Wyatt. There's no doubt about it.
So the segment on Extreme Rules, if you did not see it, Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins finished their fight pit match, which we'll talk about when we review Extreme Rules. Riddle got about 5 seconds to celebrate, and then the lights went out, and then the fucking dinosaur and the vulture and the pig showed up in the crowd. A Fiend showed up ringside. A mask appeared on the table, and Michael Cole had to go, ah, like stand up and go, oh my God, it's so dorky. And then Bray appeared, and he had a lantern, and he had a mask, and he took it off, and then people went, yeah, and then it was over.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it did nothing for me.
Yeah, this is not the show. If you were licking your chops going, oh man, I can't wait to see these guys get real excited about the Bray Wyatt return. Wrong show. I've been done with Bray Wyatt since about 2014. I think I've kind of been over it. That's been very clear on this show that we are not Bray Wyatt fans at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that has driven me away from WWE. I mean, this is not for me. Now, it got an enormous pop. Their fan base is eating this shit up. They ate up the stupid QR codes and all that nonsense. It's fucking Chikara scavenger hunts, which really wasn't a scavenger hunt. It was just telling you.
It's the best part about all this is that you had people writing articles. All right, so we know it's Bray Wyatt. He's coming to Extreme Rules.
Yeah,
we got it.
No mystery to unwind.
We have it. We got it. Thank you. We don't need an article about this. We don't need you uncovering these mysteries. It's Bray Wyatt. He's the White Rabbit, and he's coming to Extreme Rules. We got it.
It may have been creative and cool if it was a series of clues that led you to that. But everyone immediately knew it was Bray Wyatt, so then what the fuck was, like, why is it exciting after that? To get another clue that tells you it is, in fact, still Bray Wyatt. I don't understand it, but it's like, it's weird. Do we piss in other people's cornflakes for this? Obviously, people enjoyed it.
Usually we do. We did that when they were doing the cinematic matches and people were saying, the alligator represents, and we were just like, shut up, go.
Yeah, I just want to watch wrestling.
John Cena is actually representing the metamorphosis of heel John. I don't care.
So you got these weird guys in costumes all over the arena, and it's like,
yeah, there's a fucking dinosaur and a vulture, and we were like, oh wow, okay, cool.
I mean, people forget. I mean, he's a dirty swamp wizard that's going to come out with his lantern and have 2-star matches. I mean,
right. At the end of the day, I'm weird like that. I just like wrestling, so when I watch wrestling, I like watching wrestling, and this guy's not a good wrestler. So,
well, Rich, there's this idea. See, this is what's crazy to me. There's this idea that the Fiend is no more, and that he's going to be Bray Wyatt, lantern carrying fucking cult leader. If that's the case, what the fuck is the point? Isn't the whole point to bringing this guy back and hiring a fucking director of lore and all of this other shit? Isn't the whole point to go back to doing all of the magic and fucking nonsense that they were doing with the Fiend before? Why do people think the Fiend? I think people are going to be disappointed because I think the Fiend is definitely coming back. Why else would you rehire this guy?
Right. Well, I think, and you got to remember that Bray Wyatt was doing magic and bullshit even before he was the Fiend. I think a lot of people forget that he was...
Yeah, the Randy Orton match with the maggots on the mat.
Yeah, he did maggots. Shit. He was making explosions happen and stuff. Like, I think you can go back to that if you really need to. If you want to go back to Bray Wyatt, the dirty swamp wizard or whatever, you can do that. And it can be some of the magic and all this sort of stuff without being full-on Fiend, which... maybe for some people was a little too much, but again, people ate that shit up at the time. Like, it didn't affect ratings at all, but man, people, the merch wise, like you were just talking about, and then like discussion wise, people seem to like that stuff. And I'm with you that if he comes back as cult leader Bray Wyatt, like, I think a lot of people are going to kind of expect him to be, because at the end of the day, there's not much legs to that. Because he's going to wrestle, like you said, he's going to go out there and wrestle, mediocre matches, and it's like, all right, well, there's not much for that, but he's gonna have to still be a magician and a wizard and
otherwise,
and magic.
What's the point?
Yeah, right. He's not going back to NXT Bray Wyatt. That's not happening.
Yeah, why would you just bring this guy back as another wrestler on the roster? Like, he has to, and we've already seen, like, he had these fucking characters all over the building in Extreme Rules, and he's doing this. I think, it's just this weird thing. And here's the other thing too, kind of like when he got cut, the excuse a lot of people were making was, well, Vince McMahon ruined the Fiend because Vince had all these wacky ideas, and that's why the Fiend, a lot of the Fiend stuff.
Wyndham Rotunda, who's just saying, "Hey, I just want to go out there and wrestle."
Yeah.
Hey, Vince, as much as I would love blood to pour from Alexa's head, how about I just go out there and have a 15-minute match?
Listen, I think people were crazy then, and I think we're going to be proven right.
Absolutely. We're right now. No, we're not going to be proven. We're right. You think?
Yeah, he's already doing it.
Follow this guy's fucking Twitter account. You think that this guy's sitting there watching 1989 WCW and taking notes and going, yeah, here we go. No, he's doing. The director of lore has been hired to infiltrate this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they hired a legitimate director of lore. Okay, that's not his title, but that's what he is. The guy comes from the comic book world, which already is an eye roll from me. What do you think they're going to do? Write out old Mid-South storylines? The guy's going to do his fucking hocus pocus bullshit.
Right.
Going to be the Fiend. I mean, and there's a lot of people convinced that that's dead and gone, and that was all Vince's fault. Wait a minute. First of all, I thought you all liked that stuff, right?
It's one of these things where Vince goes and it's like, this show is really improving. It's like, you told me it was good before. Yeah.
It's
the same thing. Yeah, when Wyatt got fired, it was like, it all went off the rails. Vince is a maniac. Vince is crazy. It's like, you all liked it.
Rich, we were getting death threats for making fun of the Alexa Bliss stuff because they were presenting her as childlike.
Yes.
Remember Reddit was giving us death threats because, in real time, these people loved the Alexa Bliss stuff. They loved the Firefly Funhouse. They loved the box-like structure. Then Vince cuts the guy, and then they say all that shit sucked and it was all Vince's fault. This is how this guy thinks. Bray Wyatt is a dumb person's idea of a genius. And these are all his stupid ideas, and they're all coming back. And they hired a director of lore to help him with it. It's only going to get worse. I still stand firm with my belief that Vince was reining it in.
Yes.
I think Vince was reining
Vince
this
hated
shit in.
it. Yeah, I can only imagine the ideas that Wyndham had or whatever. And
yes, that got turned down.
Yeah, and I'm on the same, because the second that he could get rid of this guy, he got rid of him, which probably made you think that he had this list, this fucking notebook full of shit. And just like, God damn it, get rid of him.
Yes.
I'm sick of this shit. Like, I'm sure there's parts of him that he liked and there's things that he liked, but I think at the end of the day, he also probably turned down a lot of wild and crazy shit that he didn't want. Because
the guy's crazy. Bray Wyatt's a crazy person. He's nuts. Okay, none of it ever makes sense. Okay, I'm convinced that Vince was reining in it. And I think, like you're saying, the first opportunity, this guy doesn't draw ratings. He is the literal eater of worlds because anybody who feuds with him is dead.
He destroys characters left and right, yeah.
Okay, and the second his merch sales started to tick downward, I think Vince said, why am I paying this guy 7 figures?
Right, Angry216 in the No Dope chat room brings up a great point. Remember, there was the idea of, okay, we're building up Bray, we're building up the Fiend, and the second he had the opportunity, he had Goldberg destroy the guy and beat his ass in minutes.
Yes.
Which we stood up and applauded. We were like, Vince McMahon is a genius. Yes.
Yeah.
One of our favorite matches of that entire weird WrestleMania was Goldberg just fucking destroying the Fiend.
Wasn't that a Saudi show?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But no, I think you're getting full on fucking magical, dirty swamp wizard Fiend guy. I think you're getting that because that's what these people want.
Mm-hmm.
The base wants that. And I think the people who think you're just going to get Bray Wyatt with his dopey lantern are going to be very disappointed when he's pulling magic acts and lights are going out and he's disappearing and blood's coming out of people's heads. And, Alexa Bliss is suddenly a child again on a swing and all of this other bullshit they were doing before. It's funny because Seth Rollins, I don't know if you saw this, Rich.
Oh, I did see this quote.
So let me tell the listeners.
Yeah.
He went on record in an official, like a real interview, and said that the problem with Bray Wyatt was that anybody who was put in a program with Bray Wyatt came out colder on the other end. I mean, this guy was a liability for a while. I don't care how many T-shirts and fucking weird fucking title belts the guy sold. He was a liability. He destroyed Seth Rollins' babyface run. And Seth Rollins hasn't recovered to this day. He's still working as a heel. And he's starting to come around. People are starting to sing along with his song and all that. And I'm sure he'll be a babyface again shortly. But that completely derailed Seth Rollins' career. And he went on record saying that. Because that was the truth. So, I mean, I think this guy stinks. I think he's more trouble than he's worth with his stupid ideas. I think hiring a fucking director of lore to work with this guy is just asking for more fucking hokey bullshit. But it appears as though, at least in the short term, this guy's going to be a draw.
Yeah, I'm very curious how he actually draws now that he's here, and what, because
it'll draw big this week.
Yeah, oh no, for sure it will. Yeah. But will it be diminishing returns, or do they actually have they legitimately taken this guy away for long enough that people really did miss him, and now people are all in, and because they have an opportunity, and they do, and I'm being completely honest with this, like looking at those numbers were shocking. That the mere idea that this guy is coming back popped a lot of big numbers. So there might be, they might have struck on something here, and he might be, it's never going to be for me. I'm never going to enjoy it. I'm not going to like it, but there's a real chance that they maybe have struck something with this guy, and maybe it sustains. And that's going to be the most interesting thing to find out. Does it sustain? Can it keep going? Or is it just, okay, now he's here and the bell rings and, oh wait, right, it's Bray Wyatt and he's not very good at wrestling. Okay.
Remember the Fox executives on the Fox debut with all the picture and
the picture of those guys just looking at each other like, what the
fuck did we buy?
Yeah, what is this shit? How much did we spend?
What is this garbage?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's not for me, it's not for you, it's not for most of the people listening to us. It has energized their fan base. I am just highly skeptical that it can sustain, because it didn't last time. I think there's excitement because he's coming back. I think it's, the fan base perceives it as Triple H righting a wrong and all of those sorts of things. But I have real concerns about giving this guy creative freedom, because I don't think it gets toned down. I think it gets wackier. I really do. And that's hard to imagine, because... And then we can move on and talk about the show itself, I guess, unless you have any other Bray points.
Nah, I got nothing.
But because I'm on record, I truly, firmly believe this, and I understand the magnitude of the statement and the ground it covers. Bray Wyatt / The Fiend is the worst gimmick in the history of professional wrestling. It's horrible. It's unwatchable. It's so bad that it's beyond the pale, and it almost comes full circle to, it's just the worst thing I've ever seen in pro wrestling.
No, it broke us. Yeah, go back and listen to those shows. There were several times where we were like, what are we watching? Like, why am I watching this? What am I doing? And I've told that story that one time there was, I think it was the Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, like cage Hell in a Cell or something like that. And I was over at the nurse's parents' house watching this, and I'm just watching this, and my eyes are glazing over, and her dad looks at me and goes, "This is the stuff you watch? Like, this is what your podcast is about?"
It's
and I was like, "No, it's not. Like, it's not. Like, I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, it was like, just thinking, why let my daughter marry this guy? Like, you know what I mean? And this is what he watches." And I was like, "No, it's not. I know. No, I don't. I think it sucks too. I assure you, I think it sucks. Like, but I get it. It's like one of those we always said. It's like." The Fiend is on your screen, Bray Wyatt's on your screen, and you just hope and pray that nobody walks in.
Yeah.
That your wife doesn't walk in, that you're not watching in front of other people, that you haven't invited people over to your house to watch it. Like, you just want to watch it in your own time and just hope that nobody knows that you did this. And I just like wrestling. I want guys to wrestle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's humiliating enough.
Yeah, right.
I don't need someone who respects me to walk in on me while the Fiend is coming out of a box-like structure. It's awful.
Female servant thing is on a swing laughing while blood's pouring down her head. It's like, what are we doing?
His childlike girlfriend. I just have nothing in common with people who enjoy that. And it's like, I'm not necessarily taking shots at people who enjoy that, but I have nothing in common with some. And I will say this: I'm glad that the new Paul Levesque era of WWE has not successfully brought me back in, because as anyone who reads my writing over the last couple of months knows, I'm like a broken record at this point, and I swear I'm not going to review Raw and SmackDown anymore because I'm tired of saying the same things. It's not going to change. It is what it is. They're dull shows. They're very boring, dull, and uninteresting shows that aren't all that much different from Vince's shows. And they haven't roped me back in. I don't think the shows are any good. And I'm glad, because had they successfully roped me back in, and had they been creating a compelling wrestling product that I was enjoying, this Bray Wyatt stuff would completely throw that all. I'd be out again. It would push me back out.
Right.
I have absolutely zero use for this.